Hey fifth graders, this is Mr. Hong, and thank you for joining me for our first art project while we're doing remote learning. Hopefully everybody has been able to stay safe and healthy during this time, and I wish that we were in the classroom together and hopefully we can see each other again very soon. So today, what I want to do is I want to start our first project in one-point perspective, actually writing our names in one-point perspective. For this project, you're going to need some simple materials, 2 sheets of paper. That's one, and you're going to need another one later. And also, you're going to need something to write with that you can erase with, like a pencil that I'm going to be using, just a plain number 2 pencil. Now, earlier, some of our 5th graders took squares and they turned them into cubes using one-point perspective. This project's going to be a little bit tougher, but I like starting off with squares because they have nice, clean edges. This one will be a little bit more challenging, but hopefully you enjoy doing this project more than just making squares into cubes. The first thing you want to do before you start drawing anything today is planning out your name. The first thing I want you to do is make sure you choose a word, such as your name, that has at least 5 letters. So make sure that's the first thing you have in your mind. You could use your first name, last name, or a nickname if you want to. And if that doesn't work, you can use any word that you want to make in one-point perspective. So the first thing we're going to do today is actually take that word and turn them into box letters. That's all we're going to be doing today. Next week, we're going to turn those box lettered words into 3-dimensional looking lettering using the technique of one-point perspective. So before you do anything, you want to kind of plan out how many letters are going to be in your name. I'm going to use my last name, for instance, which is H-O-A-N and G. There are 5 letters. So the first thing I like to do when I'm planning this out is to put my first letter of my last name on the left side and the last letter on the right side, and then I can kind of fill in the middle spaces evenly. So I don't want to draw all the way to the left side because remember, we're going to make these into box letters and you want to have space. So I'm going to make it kind of big. Make sure you're drawing it at least half of the height of your paper, turned in landscape orientation. That means hot dog for some of you, but landscape just means that it's longer than it is tall. So I put the first letter and I'm leaving some space right here to the left of it, and then I'm going to leave some space on the right side where I write my last letter, which is G. So in between, I have 3 letters I still need to fill in there. So I'm going to put my middle letter, A, right here, and then you can kind of figure out, oh, I need to put my other letters right here. All right, so that's the first step, is simply just writing your name in all capital letters. Now, if you already do lettering on your own in graffiti, then you don't have to follow this step by step, but do please try to write your name using sharp, straight edges instead of curvy letters. Okay? Now, one technique to do this is anytime there's an end point on any of your letters, I simply just draw lines like this, and then I connect them. You want to make these letters a little bit thicker and boxy. Don't make them too thin, because it will make it a little bit more difficult for you when we start turning these letters into one-point perspective. Notice I'm not erasing anything on the inside right now because this is just our practice paper. We're going to be transferring our box letters onto another sheet of paper later on. If you want them to touch each other, that's fine. These letters can touch each other. So I can do this. My O is touching the H. And if I want to make the inside space a little smaller, I can turn it that way. Okay? So A has another couple endpoints. It has 3. So then I do that, and I can connect these this way. Okay. N has 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 end areas, and I'm going to make this end touch the A a little bit right here. So I'm going to push that out. So you're just drawing a box around your original letters. And G has 1, 2. So I like to follow around the inside. And then I will draw, and I'm going to let this touch a little bit. Notice at this point I have not erased anything on the inside. Then this is where you take your second sheet of paper, just put it on top. And you should be able to see the ghosting of your original paper underneath. If you don't, you can just pull this top sheet off and just trace it with your pencil, make it darker so you can see it when it's time to trace. But I can see it, so I'm just going to go ahead and go on to the next step. So now you're going to just trace the parts you want to keep. So I'm not going to trace anything from my original letter. So I'm looking, and I'm just tracing over the parts I do want to keep. And if I want to make adjustments right here, let's say I didn't like that original one, then I can just change simple parts like that. After you finish keeping the parts that you want, you're going to hold on to this sheet of paper and get ready for the next step next week. We're going to stop right here. For those of you that need help with this part, I'll be live on Zoom this Thursday from 1:20 to 1:40 p.m. If you look on Google Classroom on the stream, you should be able to see the link or the meeting ID number and the password there. So just go ahead. If you should be familiar with Zoom with your teacher. If you're not, then hopefully by next week we will all be on board with Zoom. Feel free to just drop in if you want to say hi and see your other classmates during this time. This will be a perfect opportunity for that. And hopefully you enjoy this process and this project as we move along. And I hope to see some of you or all of you on Thursday. Bye-bye.